Makers, la mette in mezzo, bella tiro, gol! Luka Modric, ha segnato Luka, ecco il gol del maestro!
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host Ollie Fisher, joined once again by Anthony, the insurmountable Torgrud.
They tried their best, but they couldn't mount me.
Wow. Wow. Good start.
I don't even know how the hell am I gonna follow that up. Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'll. Bdair, you are for this week. You are the
Mountable.
Yeah, I don't have anything after that, to be honest. That's completely thrown me off. But yeah, AJ has not been mounted. We have mounted Inter. We're going to talk about that this week, of course. We've got a big derby recap to come. And yeah, we're going to preview the Lazio game too. So a couple of big games to talk about here. We're all in our shirts, which shows that things have gone well, representing the colours of the city. Milano remains rossonera. Love it. And yeah, we're doing a deep dive on that game, of course. But before we go into it in full, got to plug our Substack over on our bonus content platform, which is a reminder, it's a $5 for the month, $50 for the year. That's in dollars, euros. You can find content such as the instant reaction after the derby, which Stefano sat down and recorded. You can see by the smile on his face, as we were all smiling at the time, that it was a pretty positive one as we secured a league double over the Nerazzurri. There was a live stream for that game too. We haven't done as many of them this season as we'd have liked to for various reasons to do with scheduling and things like that. But we did a watch along for that game that Stefano and Lorenzo did. So you can go back and see their reactions to the goal, to the key incidents, the full-time whistle too. That's over on the YouTube. Just click the like tab. The pub chat that Stefano and Lorenzo did was a preview of the game. They went into how the two teams would line up, the tactical battle, all that kind of thing. So always worth rewatching, knowing how the game went to see what they called right and things that maybe went a bit differently to as were expected. The bonus article that Isaac did was actually a look back at a previous piece that he had done, which was talking about the concerning trend when it comes to ticket prices. The derby was officially the highest grossing game in Serie A history in terms of the box office sales. It came in at just under 9 million euros, which sounds all good, right? But he goes into some of the more discerning trends that have come from it, and how the average price of a ticket has hiked up, how it's pricing some fans out of it. Of course, there's been some issues again with the Curva Sud being unable to do their tifos. So, in terms of Italy fan culture, we know the importance. It's just a look at the flip side of that. And bonus podcast that myself and Ben did was about all of the noise surrounding Allegri, potential unhappiness with the management not getting the signings that he wanted. There was some Real Madrid rumours in there too in the past week, which I think have been pretty quickly rubbished. And yeah, whether basically there are indeed the grounds to make this a multi-year thing, or if we might be looking at something that burns pretty bright and then fizzles out quickly if these supposed tensions continue. And you get a newsletter there too, which goes into a couple of the more topical things, and there's bulletin in there as well. Founding members are scrolling across the bottom on the live ticker there. We really appreciate your support, and to everybody who has signed up to this point. And that's the SempreMilan Substack, link in the description. Oh, happy days. Oh, happy days. Oh, happy days.
Yeah, there it is. Couldn't find it.
Sorry. Let's go then. Let's have it. Here's the 11 that we named for the, I can't remember, it's like the 284th Derby della Madonnina between Milan and Inter at San Siro on Sunday night. This was the team that pretty much became a formality, I would say, on the afternoon of the game, no sooner than that, because the big doubt was about whether Davide Bartesaghi would recover from, I think it was believed to be a groin strain that he suffered in that win over Cremonese. It was decided not to risk him. It really did go on until the day of the game. So Pervis Estupinan started in the left wing back role, which I think most people, it was the subject of sarcastic comments, jokes, jibes, all that kind of thing. We're going to come on to his role in the derby. Not us. We backed him all the way.
Great.
Never done it for a second.
No, man. Absolutely not. Estupeñdous, as he was. And everything else kind of picked itself. Gabbia was still out with his knee injury. Obviously, the midfield was maybe the one area where there was a doubt, whether it be Fofana. And the Cats are just slammed straight through the door. Whether it be Fofana, Ricci, or Adon Jashari in that right midfield spot. But yeah, it was clear as well that he was going to rock with Leao Pulisic again in an attempt to get them some chemistry. And of course, they have been big game players for us in the past. Thoughts on the team?
Well, I don't know shit, so it doesn't matter. But I didn't like the lineup. I knew it was going to be exactly this lineup, but every player who I was like, wish they weren't starting, was involved in winning this damn game. So, Fofana with one of the most incredible assists I've ever seen. Estupinan with the game winner. I mean, those are the two guys I was like, don't do it. Bartazagi, give me Jashari, give me other people. And here I am. So, yeah, bring me out a plate of crow. I'll eat it all day. I'll be happy about it. I mean, it worked.
Yeah, I mean, the one concern, like Anthony said, the one concern was Estupinan, and he ended up winning the game. So, and he by far had the best game of his Milan career, I think. Like even outside the goal, he was fantastic. I thought, again, the concerns early going into the game were maybe like Pavlovic, given that he gave the penalty last time. He's always been a little bit too aggressive in these kind of situations. And again, this was his best game of Milan ever. He was so calm, so composed. Every action he made was measured. He was never too aggressive. Like, he did the thing we've been asking him to do, and we've been asking a lot of our center backs to do forever, which is their strikers are going to drop deep and hold the ball up and allow the runners to go off them. Just be there physically. Be there physically, then retreat. Don't do the over aggressive. I have to win the ball. I have to foul every time. That's what's always given Inter superiority over us in the previous iteration of these derbies where they had a lot of success. And Pavlovic actually handled Boni and and Esposito fantastic, really, really great. If he plays like that, which he probably won't, but if he plays like that again going forward, he's one of the best center backs in the league. I mean, he played to that level in this game, and it was by far the best performance he's had at Milan. Have I died, or what happened?
Did Ollie die? I don't know. It just went quiet there.
Okay, I don't know why, but my screen just froze there. Yeah, I fully agree with all that. I think I didn't really... I don't know what happened there. My StreamYard, I think it's because I've got so many things loaded at the bottom, but it's lagging every now and again here. But I didn't have any particular problems with the team, to be honest. I thought that's what he would go with. There's a lot of those comfort blanket players in there that we've spoken about before. I thought that, because I do a 5 key battles piece before every game, and this was one of the hardest ones that I've had to do in terms of limiting it to just 5. But I thought that the one where we would either win or lose this game would be on our right side between Salamakers and DiMarco. Could we stop the supply from potentially if Inter go on and win the league, DiMarco's a very strong shout to win the league MVP this season. So can we stop him getting the ball into dangerous areas, getting into dangerous areas? He had sort of one moment in the game where he should have done better. We'll probably come on to that. But it was all about that for me, because Inter go into the game with a front two that they haven't used that much this season, at least in tandem, in Pio Esposito and Boni up front. So I thought them not having Thuram and Lautaro, who of course have killed us in previous derbies, was definitely a boost. There was no Çalhanoğlu for them in the Regista role, so Zielinski was there. It meant that it was, because I think Barella's not been at his best pretty much all season, but especially in recent months. And then you've got Mkhitaryan, who's obviously well into his 30s, made it quite a leggy central midfield. Like, there wasn't a lot of zip and pace to that into midfield. And you see us, we've got Rabiot, Modric, Fofana there, who should be able to control a game against that opposing 3. And then at the back, obviously Akanji was the anchor for them, which again I thought was an intriguing choice. And Bishek was on the right side, and Bastoni on the left side. So yeah, it was interesting. There was big name battles all across the pitch here, and I feel like, not to jump to the end here, we almost won every single one of them. And I think that's big.
One of the things that we did very well was every opportunity we gave them, we made sure to make sure it came from their right-hand side, their weaker side. And Salamakers was not in top form for this game, and maybe it was just because he was going up against DeMarco, who is objectively one of the best in the league right now. But we did such a good job of forcing them to the opposite side. I think DeMarco only had one or two real opportunities to create a chance. One of them was a shot from himself, which, to be fair, should have went in. It was a very close shot. It was like just outside the penalty spot, and he skied it somehow, which is inexplicable for him. And then the other big chance that they had was when Mkhitaryan ran it just straight down the middle through the whole park. And I at the time criticized Pavlovic for going wide and switching to, I think it was Esposito, and then at the last second jumping back. But I've watched the highlights a few times because I'm just that guy who will go back and watch it if it's a big win. And I think that actually I want to credit him for doing that. It was a risky thing, but it really opened up the lane to convince Mkhitaryan I'm taking the shot, and it allowed Mike to be eye level with it the whole time, where he was just, there was no obstruction for him. He was always able to see it, and it singled the lane based on where De Winter and Pavlovic were, to where the shot could only go straight at Mike, and Mike knew to just stand there. And now I don't know if that was something they trained or planned. Probably not, because ultimately you're allowing a shot, but the idea worked, obviously. So, hindsight's 2020, and you could say, what a wonderful, brilliant, genius thing to do. But it kind of was. And that was the one thing that at first I wanted to criticize Pavlovic about. But other than that, I think he had a perfect game. I do want to point out with this Estupinan, I've been very critical of him all season, as we all have, and I think that's rightly so. He has not been good. But after the game, obviously all of our emotions are very high. But I don't follow him on social media, but I went to his social media just to see the stories. And he reposted a bunch of his family watching back home in Colombia, watching the game, and seeing his mom on her knees crying, celebrating when he scored. It made me emotional. I wanted to cry for him. I was like, oh, this is a feel-good story. And now I'm sure we'll get to Lazio and he's going to fuck something up and we'll all hate him again. But, at the time I was like, this is really good. He needs this. What a guy. I'm so happy for him. Everyone, just a derby win, man. It fills you up with good positive energy, and it doesn't matter past transgressions. We're all the same team again. Good stuff.
Yeah, I saw something interesting, actually. It was a very bitter Gazzetta dello Sport journalist who is obviously into leaning, and there was a clip that got posted on their social media, and he was basically saying that this derby is one that everybody will forget because Estupinan scored the winner. And it's like the first ever derby that I went to, I don't remember if it was the first or the second, Freddie Guarin scored the winner, and you want to tell me that they didn't all go mental for that goal and stuff?
Yeah.
It's such a reductive narrative, and I think it is. It's like the weak can become heroes in this scenario. It is a game that can change careers and everything like that. We know that's the magnitude of this, and whether we'll see if this causes something ridiculous in terms of the Scudetto race. But when you're talking about individuals and you're talking about the most scrutinized characters on either team, I think, as I say, Estupinan had been the brunt of jokes and all kinds of things leading up to this, and I think people were almost dreading the fact that he had to start this game, and he stood up and he was counted. So fair play for that. I wanted to actually recall something that, because when I was writing the match report for this one, there's a big kind of gap in terms of minutes of where things happen. But I wanted to recall something that happened in the 3rd minute, which for me kind of set the tone for how this one was going to go.
Yeah.
Even as early in the game as this, when we were gifted a pretty big chance. Sommer made a mistake playing out from the back. Pulisic sees his possession in the box, lays it off back to Luka Modric, who hits it first time with his left foot, sweeps the shot just wide of the far post. That to me showed that they were nervous and they were feeling it a little bit. Now, I thought it was an interesting change in tact from us because we were actually pretty aggressive in the first half. We pushed up quite high. The departments were quite compact. We went after Inter's players as they tried to build out in pairs and in threes at times. We tried to get them into the corners, and I think it just all closed the space on that moment early in the game. And yeah, Sommer coughs it up. If that goes in, I don't know if we're talking about a 3-0 or 4-0 win, or if we're talking about Inter then coming out and playing a different way. I don't know, but I just looked at that and thought, maybe they don't fancy this a little bit.
Yeah, that's actually so. Bdair and I watched the game together, and that was something we said very similar to. Like when that happened, we had just said they showed the lineups right before the game, and it showed Summer, and I said, or someone said it, we're like, at least we know this guy sucks. Like he's gonna make a mistake, and then obviously 3rd minute he does that giveaway, and we could have put it away. Like I don't think we handled it the best, but it honestly caught us off guard. But another thing we called out was Inter is known for being the highest pressing team in Europe right now, or at least in Italy, and they weren't in this game. They sat back. They did the exact opposite, and it allowed us to play our game because that's the type of game that we're gonna do better. We have our space to move forward when we want to, and be methodical with the ball. And I mean, everything about the way they organized for this game played into our hands. And I think you're right. I think it was nerves because they knew like there was a lot more on this game than just a matchup between first and second, right? Obviously, they're staying first. They're 7 clear, and it's going to be still very hard to overcome that gap with the remaining 10 games. Like, realistically, it isn't happening. But there's more to it than just that. Like, this is a game where they won 6 straight, and now it's been 6 in a row without them winning, and this game became the 7th. Like, they knew that was on the line. They knew that was a big thing with the fans. They knew they just lost in the Champions League. They just got kicked out of that. They just drew with Como in the Cup semifinal. Like they're at that point in the season now where, like last year, they were competing for 3 things and then they just crashed out. And now they crashed out of Champions League much earlier. The Coppa Italia is at risk earlier. The league not really at risk, but it was just another thing. They said, "Are we going to fuck it up again?" They lost Lautaro. They lost Thuram the day prior. They lost Bastoni in the middle of the game, first half. There's other people that are out. I think Hakan was hurt and he was on the bench or something like that. Like it was the perfect storm for them to be mentally weak going into this game. And the inverse for us. Leao and Pulisic were back starting, 2nd game in a row. It's the first time it's happened all season. The only question mark was Bartazagi, which okay, but Vincer was in the best form of his career so far. He's come into this. Pavlovic found the best form of his career in this game. Mignon is, I think, highly regarded as the best goalkeeper in the league right now, if not 2nd behind Svilar, and I don't think that's even a fair assessment. I think he is number 1. Everything just said Milan could do it, and now the caveat is always like form goes out the window in the derby, right? We say that every year, but it felt like it wasn't going to this time, and I don't know. It seemed like the perfect storm, and nothing really surprised me other than the fact that we didn't concede anything, right? Like that was about it. I thought it would be once the game got started, I thought maybe a 2-1. But obviously going into it, I said we'd lose on last week's pod and before the game started. I just get bad feelings. But once the game begins, man, like the giveaway 3rd minute, I think I turned to you, Ahmed, and I said, okay, I'm in. I believe again. I'm back. Let's go. And then we did. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot going on. I want to touch on something that you said about the pressing, right? I saw an Inter fan say this before the game, and I agreed with it at the time. He basically said, we're coming into this game 10 points ahead, right? We know what they're going to try to do. We know how Milan play. We're going to sit back, we're going to, absorb the pressure, and we're going to try to counter. That's basically the summary of how we've gone on this 7-game unbeaten run, right? And the Inter fan was saying, like, we know that this is what they're going to do. And if there was ever a moment to revert to, we are the ones that are going to sit back. We are the ones that are going to absorb pressure. We are the ones who are going to let them come at us the way we did when Inzaghi faced Pioli all those years, right? If there was ever a time to revert to that, it's now. Because we don't have the onus to win. They have the onus to win, right? Like, a draw would have ended the season for us, right? 100%. So I agreed with that before the game. And to start the game, that's exactly what they did. But the side, what flipped it was the fact that, like you said, we came out aggressively, right? We also did not play how we usually would play. If you the chance at the 3rd minute, and then it kept happening a lot afterwards. Modric, who's our most central presence, who's usually the furthest back, was pressing right in their face over and over and over again, right? Making all 3 center backs occupied at all times. And when we started to do that, they started looking around like, this is actually not what we usually do, right? That's where the nerves came in, because their instincts were, okay, but I'm going to go press. Oh, I'm going to go find them. But their instructions were to not do that, right? And that's where the nerves came in eventually. And I think there was a lot of, we actually created a lot of chances off of those high turnovers early in the game. The expected goals is going to lie to you. It's going to say that they had bigger chances, but I don't actually think that was the case, as has been often in these derbies, right? In these derbies, because we are the ones playing off the ball, we are the ones playing on the counter. We always end up with the lower expected goals because we don't always get shots off of some very dangerous situations, right? But we created so many opportunities, and I was actually really disappointed to have gone at halftime only 1-0 up.
Yeah.
Because when you think about some of the chances Fofana had right after the goal, and some of the stuff Leao had done, Pulisic, I can honestly say that Leao and Pulisic didn't play great. I think they definitely played great. And we still came away from this with a win, and we still came away with this where each of them had several opportunities. I think there was a lot of positives, and I think the biggest question that comes out of this game now is, we're gonna find this out in the next few games. It's guaranteed now that Inter are not good against big teams. That's a fact now, right? Having lost to Atleti, having lost to Liverpool and Arsenal, Milan now twice, Juve once, Napoli once, and then drew the other one, right? And even the one big game win they have is against Juve, where complete robbery, and we all know it. It's a guaranteed fact now that they're not good against big teams. Now, the question is going to be, if they are just not good against big teams, then they will win the league, right? Because there's not any good big teams left to play in terms of the real teams with real quality and talent to kind of match them. Atalanta and Roma and Como and all these teams are big in terms of the standings, but they can't compete with them on a talent level. But if they are bad under pressure, which is what we just heaped on them, then we can win the league, right? And the key point that might the key aspect that might point us towards that direction is that they lost to Bodo Glimt, home and away, right? Now, I'm not going to do the thing where we pretend Bodo Glimt is a bad team, because Bodo Glimt had to beat Atleti at the Wanda and beat Manchester City to get to that point. So clearly, Bodo Glimt are way better than any of us ever thought in the first place, right? But they are not a big team. On a talent by talent perspective, they could not match Inter, and yet they beat them. When the pressure was at its best, they beat them home and away. If that's the kind of thing that Inter are going to show, kind of like what they showed now, some nerves, and for the first time this season, they're the ones without their two starting strikers, right? As much as, by the way, I've seen a lot of Inter fans complain. It's like, welcome to the party, buddy, right? This is match week 30-something, 20-something, or whatever it was. This has been our whole season, is waiting for our two best players to come back. And Inter finally saw what that looks like, right? If Lautaro's compromised, if Thuram's compromised, if Bastoni's compromised, who came off the field, all of a sudden that becomes so much more important. And the pressure with the next few games with Atalanta and Roma and Como, and then the Cup semifinal, which again, if they lose, I mean, how much more pressure does that add, right? Because all of a sudden you were looking at like, oh, treble competing again, the thing they did last year. And then now all of a sudden it's, well, out of two competitions, we just lost the derby twice. Maybe they draw or lose one of these next games, and it's a 5-point lead going into the run-in, and it's like everything is different. The pressure is completely different. Basically, we're winning the Scudetto is what I'm trying to say.
I will say, if we lose the title by less than 3 points, it's gonna really hurt knowing that they should have forfeited that Sampdoria game, and then they're just historically the first team to never forfeit a game for that. Like,
Sampdoria aren't in the league, dude.
You know what it was? It was because the goalkeeper was a Darrow, and my brain cannot separate him. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. But you know what I mean? The game where they threw the flare at the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
The 5th time in history it's happened. The first 4 times the team who threw it forfeited, but this time it was.
Of course not.
You get a travel ban with an exception in the biggest game.
Well, one of the craziest things is that he got up and was like, no, I'm fine. I'm like,
he's a double agent.
Like, roll around, die on the field, and you'll be good. Like,
stupid. Yeah. I was going to save this for the end, actually, but since you kind of went into it already, I just think that this coming weekend, off the back of obviously the result on Sunday night, is absolutely huge. Like, Inter play first again, as they have done for most of the past few weeks, it seems. They're playing Atalanta at home on Saturday at 3 p.m. Central European time. If they don't win that, and we go to Lazio, who are in absolute chaos, we're going to come on to that towards the end. But if they don't win that, they drop points, and we go to Lazio and win, then I think that 5% becomes about 50%. Like, genuinely, I think that while this is sort of the pendulum stopping just as it was swinging so far one way, the upcoming round could really start seeing it swing back the other way. But we'll see. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. What we should mention as well, there's a bit of a reality check, is that Inter absolutely should have taken the lead in this game with what was a goal that reminded me of that one in the Champions League derby semi-final first leg, where we just let a player. Oh no, it wasn't actually. I think it was when Brozovic scored in one of the derbies of that season. Basically,
no, you're right. It was the Champions League.
Was it? Yeah,
both goals. There was one when the 3-2 where Brozovic scored a goal like that, and then in the Champions League first leg, Mkhitaryan also scored a goal like that.
And it was Mkhitaryan again. We parted like the Red Sea here defensively, and it would require a far more detailed breakdown than I'm willing to give for what ended up being a non-goal, in terms of players just going off with wrong assignments and nobody coming out to challenge the ball carrier, which you should always do, especially when they're approaching the edge of your box. But thankfully, as AJ kind of mentioned earlier, faced with Maignan, the shot was kind of straight at him. Had it been either side, we're probably talking about 1-0, potentially different outcome to the game. But then it's the way that we punish them so quickly after this by scoring at the other end. And a guy called Paride Pasta did a really good breakdown of this on Twitter. Obviously, we're going to have our own tactical analysis out this evening. But he kind of did a frame by frame of how well worked this goal was. And Allegri and Estupinan both said after the game that it was off the training ground. So apologies if you're listening and not watching. I'll try my best to describe it. But basically here we're looking at a central block of Inter players. There's 5 players there, with 3 pressing front and 2 in behind on our 2. The line that's highlighted over towards the bottom of the screenshot is Bishek coming out to Rabiot, who's almost dropped into a left-back position. So there's nothing particularly revolutionary about what we're seeing here, apart from that Inter are trying to drive play wide with that central block. Pavlovic is in possession. He passes it into the middle, and we then work it over here, and the block moves with it. So we can see that they're trying to crowd us out whenever we switch the ball to the flanks here. But the line has now switched from Bishek marking Rabiot, who's still kind of unoccupied at the bottom of the screen there, to Pulisic. And this is where Pulisic's fantastic movement creates what we're about to see, which is the final scene here. But Bishek also comes under a bit of criticism for his role in this goal, because he almost inexplicably darts out of the defensive line to Rabiot, who is, as said, playing at left wing back at this point. And then he decides to switch to Pulisic, and he follows him, not touch tight, but he follows him very closely as he makes a dart through the middle here. And it ends with this scene here. And what he's done is actually left his man, Luis Enrique, completely 1v1 against Estupinan on the far side. And for all we were we had concerns about Estupinan starting this particular game, and whether Di Marco might get the better of Salamanca's on the other side, because we know what he's like when he gets forward. Inter fans were worried about Luis Enrique coming into this game. Probably not because of an individual battle with Estupinan, but just how much space can be left in behind him if he steps up or doesn't step back at the right moment. And that's exactly what we see. The ball goes into Leao, who then makes dart, and then it's rolled into Fofana. Fofana plays what is made to look by this tactical cam to be a quite straightforward pass into the left pocket of the box. It's not. It's pretty damn good pass. It's perfectly weighted to get it onto Estupinan's left foot, and he lashes it with the finish of a striker, to be honest, into the top corner, leaving Jan Sommer absolutely no chance at his near post. Do you know what it kind of reminded me of? Again, another Champions League throwback from that season. We scored a goal through Bdair in the first leg against Napoli, where we worked the ball really well from right into middle, took advantage of an isolation on the left side, and Bdair fired it in at the near post in that game. Estupinan bags, stadium goes ballistic. What a moment for him, and a really nicely worked goal.
He hit it with so much power. I genuinely don't think he aimed that. I mean, it was just a rocket. It was like,
Potentially not, yeah.
I'm just booting this thing and hoping for the best, and he got the best. But yeah, I mean, it was incredible. The pass from Fofana was marvelous. It was one of the most impressive things I'd seen in a while, especially from him. And that's one of the things that we've said he's really good at is winning the ball back, and making these passes. And I don't know where it came from because he can't do anything else right. Like, you think if you could pass like that, you could maybe shoot too, but he can't. It's just not in his repertoire, which he did have a good shot that was low and hard. It was basically right at the keeper, but it was on target, which is impressive for him. There was something else that you touched on that I'm trying to remember what it was because I wanted to go back to it, but it was not in my mind anymore.
Could it have been Rabiot playing left wing back? Was it?
Oh, that was what kind of triggered it, actually. So we noticed early on that when you look at our lineup when we were in possession, Pulisic was in Fofana's spot, and Fofana was in the top line level with Leao for a good majority of the opening 30 minutes or so, I'd say, which led to his shot. And I think that really threw off the Inter players because, like the picture showed, Bisic would drop back and cover Pulisic because, of course, you're going to cover our top goal scorer, right? Like, that's obviously the guy you want to watch. But then all of a sudden you realize you're pulling a center back into midfield. And yeah, Fofana's not the guy who's taking a shot on goal, but he could make that pass and he could get it there. Now, obviously, the goal came from a spot where he was in midfield and Pulisic was up top again, ironically. But it was just one of those interesting things that I noticed. And at first I thought, get back in position. But as I watched, they were constantly there. I'm like, oh, this is a tactic. This is instruction. And, it worked because as soon as they switched it up, here comes the goal. So just those little things that Allegri does that really sets him apart. Not that I'm, saying swapping position is, the most incredible big brain tactic in the world, but it is little things like that he really shows himself to be a better manager.
It is one of his principles as well, though. I mean, it's without going too nerdy, it's called relationism, and it's where he entrusts his players, in order to break down low blocks and things like that, to interchange positions smartly and to drag their markers all over. And yeah, that's what you see perfectly executed there. And I just thought it was brilliant that after the game they both said, yes, we drew this up on the training ground, to try and get a cluster of bodies over to one side and leave Estupinan of all people, again, not to be disrespectful, but we knew the narrative coming into this game, to leave him with a clear run on goal. Now, we'd have probably drawn that up had Bartosagi been fit to start too, because we kind of saw that against Sassuolo, how we spot a weakness and we try and exploit it in that way. But yeah, it was a really, really good bit of, it's just proof that I think that there's, first of all, there's different ways to skin a cat. We don't always have to be direct. We don't always have to just hope for chaos in the box or anything. We've been criticised for scoring goals a bit agriculturally at times, I think, this season. But that's our 16th different goal scorer now out of 20 outfield players. Wow. The ones who haven't, one's Odogu, who's played 16 minutes. I think Tomori and Gabbia haven't scored yet, who you would expect to have scored.
I think Gabbia has.
He got disallowed.
Oh, you're right.
Disallowed goal.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what the other one is off the top of my head. But yeah, 16 out of 20 outfield players, and this being probably arguably the biggest goal of the season so far, shows that yeah, that's it. Yeah. This shows that, they're learning new tricks all the time, and I thought that was really good. And as Bdair kind of alluded to before, we should have potentially gone in at the break even further ahead, because if there was question marks about how Inter would approach this, another big game, in terms of their mentality and their tactical approach, then I think the question that we wanted to follow on from that was, how do they respond if they get punched first? And obviously with the Estupinan goal, the pressure was kind of then on them to respond. Allegri had the game right where he wanted it at that moment. And instead of sitting back, again, containing and countering, as you probably expect, having just got a goal up 10 minutes before the break in the derby, we went for the jugular. It could have been 2-0 when Pulisic made a dart down the left side. Nobody really opposed him, to be honest, and he cut it back to Salamakers. Salamakers got on the end of it, but Di Marco, incredible. I say incredible, it's sort of your job, but when you watch how he hairs on, knowing that he's about to get on the end of that near the penalty spot and put it in, he just puts him under enough pressure to make sure it doesn't go in. And then there's another one where Fofana has ball right side of the box. He tries to cut it back for what would have been a big opportunity. It's cleared, it comes back to him, and he curls it with his left foot, sort of wide of the top corner. But basically, we'd rocked them at this point. And I think that made us grow in belief, and the crowd really got into the game at that point. It was almost like a perfect first half.
Yeah, it was. You're right.
From that perspective, it's really the moments after the few minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it was after the goal were basically Fofana giveth and Fofana taketh away. Like I genuinely have never seen a player like him in that. He is absolutely brilliant at the final ball. Like if you have a runner on the in behind, running in behind, and you need the perfect ball to just kind of like go around the defender but meet the striker right at where it needs to be. I mean, I genuinely don't think anybody in our team is better at that final ball than he is. Maybe in the entire league. Maybe nobody. When you think about previously against Cremonese, the two balls he played into Leon Pulisic, right? Both of which they missed. But like he plays these balls constantly, right? Perfection. And then the next opportunity, once he's higher up the field and he receives the ball, where that opportunity where Sommer comes out, and it's just like make any decision whatsoever. Square it, cut it back, shoot, do anything. But the hesitation and hold the ball and wait until all the interplayers recover and all that stuff. That's where it's like, just do the thing. That's why when he had that shot where he started driving up the field and Pulisic kind of faked like he was going to make a run to the right, and then he made a run to the left, and it was all a bit too late, right? And he didn't really give him an opportunity to play a pass. And then Fofana takes the shot, and it's right at Sommer. But it was a good shot, but it was right at Sommer. And a lot of the people around us when me and Anthony were watching were like, oh, man, what kind of shot is that? Like, it's a terrible shot. Why would he shoot? Just pass the ball, whatever. And we're all like, no, he made the right decision. All the runs none of the runs materialized, right? And normally he would do the thing where he would stop and look around and lose the ball ultimately, right? Mm-hmm. That was the right decision. Take the damn shot. Make the decision.
Is that the one that Sommer kind of parried as well? And like,
yes.
You think
and no one rebounded.
Yeah, you think in first derby, Pulisic was there for the Salamakers shot that was parried, and then this time he just kind of stopped. That's not a criticism of him. It's just
that was something I noticed too, and it was interesting because we didn't go for any rebounds this game, and I wonder if that's like just them being out of fitness right now. Like the instinct isn't necessarily back to 100%. I don't know, but I noticed it live as well that like we obviously scored that goal from a rebound, but this time we didn't attempt any rebounds. Like as soon as Fofana took the shot, Leao and Pulisic just stopped running. They go, okay, we're gonna wait.
I think Leao showed up at the beginning with such energy, right? And there was that early on where early on he runs all the way back, makes the slide tackle, like wins us a goal kick, all this stuff, and we're like, okay, like we're running, we're getting energy, let's do it, right? And I think maybe 5 minutes into the second half, he was just like, you could tell, like, oh man, his legs are gone.
Yeah,
his
hands
legs
on his knees. It was bad.
Yeah, his legs are completely gone, and that I'm hopeful that that's like a more of a match fitness thing than like I'm hurt and I can't run, because again, he was able to early on, and he did it a bit against Cremonese as well. I think there was the Fofana thing is get him in positions where he can be quick and decisive as much as possible, because that's where he's brilliant, right? When he doesn't have to think about it, when there is one decision to be made, the pass is there. When he just needs to execute, he has the ability to do it. Mm-hmm. When he has to sit there and think about it and discern between a few options, that's where we often see him mess up. But it's kind of like the funny clip of him earlier in the season where he runs through the whole field and then he kind of mishits the shot, right?
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that happens because there's people around him, right? Because For a second, he's thinking, "Am I laying it off there? Am I passing it here? Am I?" And then when it finally gets to him, it's like, "Okay, it's my turn to shoot." He's overthought it. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of all
Well,
fumbled.
that's what happened. I think it was early in the second half when he gets the ball basically right on the line at the near post.
Modric plays it to him.
Yeah. And he looks, and there's like 3 or 4 people he could have laid it off to. He just needed to put it in there. But it was like he was looking for the exact person because his passes are so precise that he didn't want to just put it up and hope, which is what you do when you get the ball with, a second's notice in that position. Just square it and hope for the best. You're either going to find a player or not. But instead, he just held on to it and then lost the ball. And everyone's like, that was a golden opportunity. You had people. And if you just square it, you don't even have to look. You should know that at this level in this game, that you will have someone making a run. Someone will be on the penalty spot. Someone's getting there, right? Like, you just make the ball. And if it's intercepted, it's intercepted. But if you just hold on to it, nothing's going to happen either. And I think that was where he made the worst decision possible. But similar to the shot that he took early that we were just talking about, where it was the right decision, there was another moment where I believe it was Pulisic running down the middle, and Rabiot was making an overlap on his right, and Leao was already in front of him on the left. And he laid it off to Leao, which in a normal situation is always the right decision. Leao right inside the box on the left-hand side. We've seen him score that a million times. Like, I'm never going to say that's the wrong decision. But Rabiot was the right decision. He was more open. He had a better angle. He was also kind of visually impaired to seeing Rabiot because of where I think it was Bastoni at the time. I don't remember who it was.
And he had already
that's why.
That's why.
Yeah. And he had just looked over to Rafa. And I think everyone knows, like, Rafa's the right, like, that's who you're going to pick naturally, right? But it was just another one of those things.
The crazy thing about that is, as well, is that Rafa dragged his shot wide of the post, but he almost dragged it so much that Rabiot got on the end of it. It wasn't a million miles off looking like a perfectly executed counter-attack. But that's kind of what we did. Even though as I say, we went for the jugular late in the first half, we did see a bit more of that contain and counter the pragmatism in the second half. There were some changes that sort of came. I don't think he wanted to upset the formula that had been going well so far, so we didn't see changes until the 73rd minute. Leao Fofana came off for Fulkrug and Richie. It's kind of a like-for-like, sticking with the 3-5-2. Pulisic also came off for Nkunku, I think, to try again offer a bit more threat in transition. And the big chance that Inter really had in the second half fell to Di Marco, who this season, as I said, has been the informed man. And if there's anyone you don't want it to fall to on his left foot inside the box, it's him. It was Barella cross. It dropped to Mkhitaryan at the far post, and it was not a bad setup, to be fair. And Di Marco's made that run forward, and he hooks the shot well over the bar in the end. And that just kind of summarised their night, to be honest. They had a barrage of late crosses and corners, as you kind of come to expect. And I was having flashbacks to that De Vrij equaliser from last season in the 94th minute. Like, eventually one of these set pieces is going to come off. They did have the ball in the net, but the referee had whistled pretty much the moment that the ball was struck, which seemed to make everybody stop. So there's no way that you can ever allow that goal. And then do we come to the incident that I think we're going to pretty quickly gloss over, but seems to be dominating the punditry world for whatever reason. They're appealing for a penalty here right at the end on Samuel Ricci. It's Dumfries with a header down, and yes, it does strike the arm. But for me, whether I think the handball laws are correct or not is another thing. But since we're going by these laws, flawed or not, by the letter of the law, it's not a penalty kick. The rules are pretty simple in that they state that it can be given if you're enlarging your silhouette, and you can only do that by extending your arm outwards to the sides to make your frame bigger. If it strikes your arm in front of your body, you're not making yourself bigger in that way. And also there's a bit of doubt about the distance. He's not too far away. And in terms of the motion, his arm was out, but he's tucking it in at the moment that the ball strikes the arm. So those three things are working in Richie's favour there. And it was the correct decision not to award a penalty.
I think go ahead.
No, I was going to say, any disagreements?
Oh, I think from this angle and it being a still image, it looks very damning, right? Like, yeah. I didn't even see this happening. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. While you find the other angle,
yes. This is the
See, this where you go. Okay, yeah, it's by his side, and also live. I still can't tell if it actually comes off of Estupinan. Like it almost looks like it's off Estupinan into Ricci, and there's a moment where it looks like it actually doesn't hit the arm at all and gets his chest. Now, I don't know if that's actually what happened or not. That's just visually what it looked like at one moment. Live, I wasn't sure. I didn't see the challenge happen live. When they reviewed it and I saw the angle that you just showed, the one from behind, I said, oh, they're giving this. 100% they're giving it. And then they didn't. And you think back to the time when they didn't give the exact same thing to Dumfries, who was also jumping in the air and blocking a shot with his elbow forearm area.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm in two minds about it because when they didn't call it on Dumfries, whatever game that was, I was upset. I wanted it called. In this game, obviously, I don't want it called. So do I just suck it up and say that's my own bias speaking and I'm always going to favor the option that favors me? Of course. Now, is it a handball by the letter of the law? You say no. I've seen every rules analyst and referee association on Twitter and the internet so far say no. So I'm inclined to say that this also is a no. But I'm conscious of the fact that I have bitched about this exact non-call in multiple other games in the past 3 seasons. So
I mean,
I would be a hypocrite if I said this is a clear no handball for me, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the argument, the common denominator of the argument on these things is always the inconsistency, right? So if we're debating the merits of this particular decision, I think he's got it right. Then if you zoom out to a macro scale and you say, well, what about this one where it was called and stuff? That's the problematic aspect, not this particular, decisive call. And I know a lot of Inter fans have pointed to what they say was the penalty that cost them the Scudetto last season, which was during the Lazio game. It was a 2-2 draw at San Siro. And that was on Bishek. And the big difference with that, again, it's his arm was out by his side. Therefore, he's making his body, his frame bigger. And he blocked a shot that was going towards goal. So that was given and was correct. There's a graphic, I'm not going to put it up because it's all in Italian, that shows the exact situation that should and shouldn't be punished. Now, what we know is that they're not deployed on a consistent basis. And I think you can actually find that to be the case across various leagues. You know, there's a big VAR thing in the Premier League at the moment too, the debate about what's given and what's not. But I just think... I don't just think, I know that in this case it was the right decision. I mean, I've even seen Inter journalists on Twitter and stuff saying it's, you know, we can't be causing a storm over this. Some have argued, some have produced the first still like that I put up there and said, how can this not be making himself bigger and stuff like that? But as I said, the 3 major factors that would constitute a penalty for handball are actually all in Richie's favour. So it was the correct decision.
Yeah. Well, and this still does look like he's getting bigger from the outside, but the reality is he's not going sideways. He's going back. Right. And it doesn't hit back there. If it was going behind him and he does that, then I'm 100% I'm saying, yeah, you got to call it. He did make himself bigger to hit the ball. But it hits like the forearm, almost chest. Like I still kind of think there is a video where you see it does not touch the arm and it just hits chest. I could be wrong on that. And I'm willing to accept whatever. I know for a fact that more favors have gone, or more decisions have gone in their favor than against this season that shouldn't have. So I am just going to lean on my bias here and say good riddance. Fuck them. Whether it is or not, I really don't care at this point because we got the dub, which is what they've always said, right? So winners celebrate, losers explain.
Have you seen the video that went viral on Twitter of our entire team in sort of a big huddle near the centre circle, jumping up and down, celebrating at full time as the entire Inter swarmed Bdair and stuff? And it's like, that was the first phrase that popped into my head. I'm not going to lie.
It's such a good phrase.
One thing I will say, and I know this sounds soft or whatever, but it is kind of sad that the derbies always seem to have like this big... It can never just be football. You know what I mean? There always has to be something like the penalty in the last derby nearly cost us, and that was divisive over whether Pavlovic's tackle on Thuram was like incidental contact or whether it was a nasty follow through and stuff. There's always a controversial decision when it comes to the big games in Italy, which is a bit of a shame. But as I say, it's probably no different when you zoom out. Here's the stats for the game. Oh, sorry.
You're good. I said it in like the 30th minute that I could smell a stoppage time penalty coming. And I think everyone said, like, yeah, here it is. You were right. You called it.
Oh, he says that the entire game, like nonstop.
Yes.
Every time they enter the box, it's like, here's where the penalty's coming. And so when that handball, like when the video starts getting
Can't be
shown,
wrong.
everybody in the whole place is like, God damn it, man, it's gonna happen again, isn't it? Like everybody, he's just psychologically conditioned us that this is gonna be a penalty. When they show the angle from behind, I'm like, this is a penalty. This is because the angle from behind makes it look like he's like chicken winging his arm out, right? And then when you see, that's why I asked for the second angle, because when you see it from the front, that's where you see that it actually hits like this part here next to his body more than his elbow area, right? Which is the part that was extended out. And just the VAR aspect of it, it's one of those where it's like, I do believe that if he had given that on the field, it doesn't get overturned. But the fact that he doesn't give it on the field, it also doesn't get overturned the opposite way, like that they give it. But go on.
Also, it seemed to be checked and cleared pretty quickly.
It was very quick.
And I don't know if that's because a lot of Inter players, maybe they've not seen it, just moved on and wanted to take the next corner, you know, and try and load as many things into the box as possible, given there were, 5 minutes added. And then I thought with that, it's going to become 7 minutes. But he ended up blowing pretty close to the end of the allotted time. And jubilant celebrations. Cardinale was at the game, which we should mention. So it was a winning return. It's a winning return because the last derby that he was at was the 2-1 that we lost and Inter won the second star.
When was the last time he was at?
Why was he even there for that? There was no upside for him to be there.
No, I know. It's nearly 2 years because that was April 2024. So it's been nearly 2 years since he's been at a game. The last game that he attended live was the Real Madrid win at the Bernabeu. So talk about, two extremes. He was there. I mean, he is being more present. He was at Milanello for the third time in just over a month they say like fire the team up or whatever. I can't imagine that Rabiot and Modric are looking at him thinking, I'm going to go win for this guy. I just don't. Yeah. But I mean, there does seem to be an increased closeness, and I don't know, we'd be speculating here about it. Is it because of the refinancing? Is it because we're going to get a big summer now? Or is it? I don't know. We'll see. But I just thought
it's because now people are happy. So he's showing himself.
That's true.
When people are mad, he's not coming around. He's not giving interviews. Now everything's like, look at the greatness of me. And it's like, okay, man, we get it. This is billionaire ego, whatever. I'm not going to get into Cardinale. I do want to touch on those substitutions because maybe it's a hot take, but I don't think he got them right. Like, obviously, those were the only changes you can make up top, right? Where Fulkrug and Nkunku. I don't think you needed to make them. Ahmed, you have this theory, and I agree with you now, that in the biggest games, don't take off your best players. Because if there ever is a time to force Leao and Pulisic to give us a full 90, it's when you're 1-0 up in a derby determining top spot, right? Like, if that's not the time that you're going to push them, then when? Then never. And maybe that is the answer, is you never want to push them. But I also don't think that Nkunku or Fulkrug offered anything. Yeah, and I don't think they have much of the season.
The front two were out of the game by that point, though.
But this sorry, but just say, because a lot of the people at the bar we were watching, a lot of people were like, okay, bring on Fulkrug, bring on Nkunku, because we need fresh legs. But watch what Fulkrug actually does when he's on the field. What's fresh about what he's offering? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's doing his Leao impression at that point. Except my thing about, never substitute your best players. I think that in every game, by the way, because to me, when you need a result, right? When you need a result, and if one of these players, let's say they had equalized, it's 1-1, right? Now I'm stuck on the field with Fulkrug and Nkunku. What am I going to do with that, right? If one of these players is going to curl in a shot from 30 yards, is it going to be Fulkrug? Is it going to be Nkunku? Or is it going to be Pulisic and Leao? Realistically, it's going to be Pulisic and Leao. So that's why I'm always like, keep them on the field. If there's a transition attack and it goes to Fulkrug, what the hell am I doing with that? Even Leao at 20% fitness, I still believe in, can you give me one sprint like he did against Como, right? Can you give me just one sprint on a transition opportunity and do something crazy, right? Like, I always believe in that.
Fulkrug's fresh legs when he came on or he's still slower and less dynamic than Leao's tired legs when he came off.
They were like my fresh legs after I did my meniscus. The man moves like a cruise ship. I've never seen anything like it. The one thing, so I agree. I think he got it wrong in bringing Leao off for Fulkrug, because I think if you're gonna go with any forward pairing, it has to be someone. If you bring Fulkrug on, the only logic that I can think that he was going with there was that we needed an out ball. We were under serious pressure. Mm-hmm. They were pumping ball after ball into our box. The brief moments we do get possession under control, you want someone to knock it up to, and they can ideally win a flick on, they can hold the ball up, they can try and launch a counter from that. That's what Fulkrug's role was meant to be. Now, we know it didn't go to plan, but if you're going to have that, then you need a runner in behind off him. And I think Leao was still more likely to offer that than Pulisic, who, as we know, has been coming shorter. So I think he probably got that one wrong, but I think I'd have brought on Kunku on before I brought Fulkrug on, just to lean into the transition. But I don't think, I agree, and I hadn't thought about it at the time, the way Bdair puts it, like, what happens if we concede there? We're basically consigned to not scoring another goal. But at the same time,
go ahead.
I was going to say, at the same time, we've been leading since the 35th minute. Leon Pulisic not 100%, and it's at a time where Inter are just trying to horseshoe the ball around the back and get it into crossing positions. I do think you do need a little bit of you need a bit of pressure from the front in order to not make that very, very easy. So maybe they were that gassed that he decided, I need to do something here, otherwise they're going to break.
And maybe they were that gassed, but I don't know. I think you leave one of them on. Like, okay, he did leave Pulisic on, and then he came off in the 84th minute when it was a lot closer. But even then, that was like when the penalty situation happened, and you're like, okay, well, here we go again. Like, we don't have time now with these guys. But my thing is, if you're going to bring Fulkrug on, yes, you need to leave Leao on to run in behind, but also don't take Fofana off at the same time. The only guy this game who's proven to make those lob balls, who's going to find a guy like Fulkrug in the box, right? Like, Fofana was the only guy creating from midfield. We saw it. He had the assist on the goal. And that's not disrespectful to Rabiot or Modric, who are very capable of doing it the same as well, but they weren't this game. So when I'm looking at that, if I'm taking Fofana off, I'm certainly not bringing Fulkrug on. I would rather that have been Nkunku and Pulisic if Fofana's going to come off. And when Fofana comes off, why Ricci? Why not just Shari? That's the part that really I was like, what? Like, I didn't understand any of the substitutions other than they're like for like, and you pick one, But I thought that was strange. And I don't know. Maybe, like, I'm not saying you wouldn't use any subs in this game. Obviously, you're going to, and the options are limited. I just didn't think they made sense in the context of the game.
I thought he was going to bring Atakami on for some height as well and whatever. Yeah. But yeah, sorry, go on.
No, he trusts Ricci physically in a way that, like, he's the coach. He sees them every day, so whatever. Like, we defer to him, but he trusts him physically to put him in that Fofana spot more than Jashari in a way that I don't believe has been reflected in the games when they've played. Like, when Jashari has played, I've never watched him and thought, this is a guy who's physically outmatched. Mm-hmm. Or at least I haven't watched him and thought, well, Richie's just so much better physically tackling, winning the ball. I've never thought that when I've watched the two. But again, he's the one who sees them in training, and maybe there's an element that Richie just hasn't been able to show in the games yet.
If anything, I'd say it's been more the other way around, where Richie in some big games has been a bystander. The game's completely passed him by, and he's the one who's supposed to have already adapted to the league. He hasn't had the big injury and stuff.
I mean, even this game.
It's tough. We're basically committing to not having any possession at this point. But since that start that he had against Como in the 1-1 draw, where Jashari was fantastic, played the assist for Leao and everything, he played 74 minutes against Parma, so he started that game. And he hasn't played a single minute since. Was on the bench for the entirety of the win over Cremonese and the entirety of the derby. So that's interesting because prior to that, he'd played 18 minutes across. So prior to the Como game, he played 18 minutes spread across 3 games, then started Lecce. Prior to that, played 4 minutes against Como away. So he really is dipping him in and out in quite an aggressive way, like me with a chocolate hobnob biscuit. And I'm not entirely sure that that's beneficial for his development. Let's do tops and flops and move on to Lazio, because we've done an hour on the derby here. I'm going to go with a bit. I kind of alluded to it earlier, so I'm going back over the old ground. But I'm going to go for someone that I don't think you two are going to go to. I thought the main battle to win was Salamanca's against Dimarco. Salamanca's has been criticised in recent weeks, I think fairly, for some subpar performances. And I worried about this one and him becoming overwhelmed by the emotion as he can do in these big games, so like Roma away and stuff. But I thought he was fantastic. I thought the energy that he provided in this game, the distance that he covered, the way that he did, a pretty damn good man-marking job for most of the game on Dimarco, and actually at times pinned Dimarco back rather than it being vice versa. I said we needed to win that battle, and we did, so I'm going to give it to him.
That's fucking crazy. I don't know. I'm voting bring back Maddie. I don't know, but that's a hot take. I'm definitely not picking Salmakers. I was gonna pick the Winter. I think since he had that one horror show game, and I don't even remember which team it was, where I finally said I'm giving up on this guy, he's been perfect. And this game was the cherry on top. I think he did everything right. I haven't looked at his stats. I can't back that. I just know what my eyes saw, and they were extremely happy with what they saw against or with the Winter. So that's what I'm picking.
Top for me, I think it's kind of crazy that we've been an hour. We haven't talked about Modric a lot.
Good point. Yeah.
I mean, I would say we haven't talked about Modric and De Winter enough, because first of all, Modric was truly, truly spectacular. I mean, there was his level, the ability, the willingness to constantly keep his dribble alive until he finally finds the right option. There was a moment where he gets the ball on the right-hand side of the halfway line, and he's under pressure with two Inter players, and he's just like, cool, I'm going to shrug you off, and I'm going to keep dribbling, till he gets to like right on the touchline. Like it's about to go out for a throw-in. And that's when he finds Fofana in a perfect pinged ball right at the line, at the basically defensive line. And Fofana ends up trying to cut it back for Leao, and it doesn't work out, whatever. But like that pass bypasses like 8 Inter players. And it's like, where did he even see that? I'm watching the aerial view, and I'm like, that's not a pass that was possible, until he dribbled his way into making it possible. I think he's the greatest. Honestly, I tweeted this during the game. I was like, when he made that pass specifically, I was like, I think he's the greatest midfielder of all time. Like, he was already in the table. He was already in the conversation. But I'm just like, this is 40 years old. And I'm not exaggerating, he looked like the most athletic player on the pitch yesterday.
Take a look at his heat map, dude. It's fucking crazy.
That's what I'm saying. Is that not ridiculous? Is that not an insane statement to say? Like, he was pressing their center backs high and then getting back and making interceptions and tackles and then playing the passes. And I'm like, this is not, there's no way I've never seen this. I've never seen this before. This is not how it's supposed to happen. Right? He's 40 years old. It's insane. Yeah. So he's my top. But to talk about De Winter for a second, first of all, did you guys realize that everybody in the world was watching this game? Because there was no Premier League. There was nothing else to watch. So everybody in the world was watching this game. And some of the takes that I have seen, there's people that have obviously not watched anything else. I saw somebody say that De Winter and Pavlovic can be Saliba and Gabriel.
I saw that too.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the guy who said, there's a guy who's, I don't know who he supports, but he said, I came to watch Bastoni. I noticed De Winter.
Right.
Hell yeah. That's
by the way, I say that to say, I promise you, a lot of teams will have been watching this game, right?
Yeah.
And he was absolutely phenomenal. Like, the one moment where there was he made one little mistake was the Mkhitaryan shot on goal, where he kind of should have met Mkhitaryan, and instead he went with the runner. And it's like, make him make the pass instead of allowing him to shoot. But regardless, other than that, he was truly spectacular. Kind of similar to Pavlovic, where this had to have been very, drilled in. They did not get too aggressive with the inter center back, or the inter striker. Sorry, they never gave up fouls, which is something we always do, right? Mm-hmm. They hardly gave up fouls on those strikers. They would get aggressive when they actually had a chance at the ball, but as soon as they saw they were a little bit too far, a little bit too slow, whatever, retreat. Like, just give them the space, let the midfield come back and handle that.
I just looked right now. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I thought Pavlovic did a really, really good job on Esposito of pushing it as far as he could without going too far.
Yeah,
Like some of the both having proper two-handed holds of each other's shirt as a cross came in and stuff. It's just towing the line. But Esposito's done it to God knows how many centre-backs this season when he's played. Like, he uses his size. And I think Pavlovic showed that when you take that out of it, he's actually very limited. Which he's having a good season. He's very young, and don't get me wrong, I'd still like us to have someone like that to be able to throw into the fray. But I think that when it came to, okay, I'm going to have to drop here because I'm not winning anything from Pavlovic, his play with his back to goal was awful, to be honest. It was poor. So yeah, that was a good battle to win.
So I just checked because you said like they didn't commit fouls, which is something we never do, and I looked. Our back three center backs combined for 2 fouls committed, and Tomori committed both.
Yes. And
I remember one of them.
And we'll take that to our flop section, where I think it was Tomori, because Tomori is one of my favorite players in the team, right? Like, in terms of personality, like, I love him. I absolutely love him. I hope he turns it around and he's at Milan for a long time. But this system does not suit him whatsoever, right? And he needs to start. And because he gives us a certain physical profile that none of the other guys have, right? He's the fastest and all that. But when he gets the ball, especially on the ball, he is a huge detriment to the team. Even if you look at, this happens all the time, but I'll highlight it even in the positive moment. If you look at the goal, right, where he plays the ball to Fofana, the ball he plays to Fofana is terrible, right? It's bobbling 60 times. Right? And it's Fofana's brilliance that he takes it first time and it's smooth as hell to lay out, right? That's the kind of technical insecurity that, like, you play the first pass that is bad but doesn't really look that bad, right? But if you look at zoomed in and you like, why is this ball bobbling? You had all the time in the world. Why is this not smooth, right? And you play that bad pass, and then the next one, if Fofana doesn't take it perfectly, it's like knee height to lay out, and then his layoff is terrible, and that's a counterattack. Like, that's the kind of thing that spirals over and over. And Tomori on the ball, when he gets the ball and he has space in front of him, he doesn't take it, right? He doesn't run into it the way Pavlovic does. As much as I've criticized him for that in the past, like, I have to respect that if there's 10 yards out of Pavlovic, he's taking the 10 yards, which is the right thing to do as a wide center back. Tomori doesn't do that. His passing is terrible. And on the Mkhitaryan shot, he was this goddamn close. He was this goddamn close to giving away, maybe not a penalty because I think it was outside the box, but he would have been sent off.
Just
like, this close.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's like, dude, like, either be there or just admit you're late and try to recover. But don't do the shit where you're halfway in and you might give away a red card or a penalty. Like, time and time, he's really struggled because he's the most aggressive of our center backs in terms of he wants to just be attached to the striker, right? And that used to be valuable when we played at the halfway line, but we don't do that anymore. And now when you give up that space, you're giving it 20 yards away from the goal, and it's just a huge disaster. He is, in my opinion, he was the worst player in my opinion in this game. And again, I love him, but he has become, in the past few weeks, in my opinion, the most glaringly obvious, this is the position you need to upgrade in.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I do lean towards Tomori, but because Ollie picked him for his top, I do want to highlight that I think Salamakers did not have a good game. I mean, even his stats, he was dispossessed multiple times, 0 successful dribbles, only 1 accurate long ball. He only won 4 duels. And then you go to DeMarco, who also had a bad game, but he had a big chance. He had multiple shots, a lot of touches in the box, a lot of crosses in there. And his offensive stats were much better than Salamakers' defensive stats. And
Salamakers made him have a bad game. He did a really good job on him. And if you can't see that, then I'm sorry. You need an eye test.
I don't think he's anywhere near top.
I think you guys should fight it out. Let's do it.
I know. He got the real defensive. He cut me off even. But it's okay.
Yeah, but I just looked. Gazetta gave Salamakers a 7 and gave Divina a 7 too.
Fatmob gave Salamakers a 6.9 and De Winter a 7.6, which is basically the same thing. So
6.9 is good, you know. When
it's
that's the key battle to win,
so.
you win it. It shouldn't be. I wouldn't actually feel too comfortable picking a flop, to be honest, because I thought kind of everyone did their own bit in their own way. The player who frustrated me most was again Leao, but then he had a big hand in the opening goal, so the only goal. So it feels a bit disingenuous to do that. The subs who came on, they were brought on when we'd basically surrendered possession, so it's hard to kind of judge what they were able to do in that game situation. So I'll just say well done, everybody. Great organised performance. We've now got the best defence in Europe's top 5 leagues with only 20 goals conceded. Yeah. Como and Roma have overtaken us, and nobody has conceded less than 21, which leaves us standing alone on 20. So that's all good. Let's quickly preview Lazio then. So Lazio's pretty damn toxic at the moment. There were 2,000 fans in attendance for their game against Sassuolo at the Olimpico last night as protests continue against Lotito's ownership.
That's bad.
They beat Sassuolo in the end 2-1. They went 1-0 up with a goal from Daniel Maldini in the second minute, and they needed a 92nd minute winner from Marusic. That ended a run of 4 games without a win, in which they'd drawn 2-2 with Juve, lost 2-0 at home to Atalanta, drawn 0-0 with Cagliari, and lost 2-0 away at Torino. It just about put them into the top half again. They're in 10th place at the moment, but they've lost as many games, 9, as they've won this season. They've scored 28 goals in 28 games, and they've let in 28. Lazio, pretty boring side this season under Sarri. We maybe should have seen a bit of a rebuilding. I say rebuilding, they've not rebuilt much, but all of the chaos that happened in the summer with the transfer ban and stuff, expecting them to go on a charge for the top 4 might have been a little bit unrealistic. They're consigned to mid-table mediocrity this season. And after the post-derby adrenaline, it's all set up nicely for us to go and lose 3-0 there.
Yeah, I think there's some important things to look at. Obviously, Rabiot's suspended for this, which, by the way, what was his yellow card for? It seems so random in the derby. I don't even know what he did. But nonetheless, he is suspended for this. And honestly, Amen made a good point. Just get it out of the way, right? Maybe this isn't the greatest game, but I'm sick of this. Get it over with. On the positive note, and I say positive very begrudgingly because I don't like to say it's great that players are injured, but positive for us, players will be missing the game. Provedel, shoulder injury, he's out for the season. So now they're playing a 21-year-old, I say kid, but not necessarily, but a young guy who doesn't have much experience. He did well against Sassuolo, but very big difference in caliber of teams there. So that plays into our favor. And the other one is Rovella has a broken collarbone, so he's going to be out until early May. So those are another big one. Then there's Cataldi and some other people who are hurt, but the main one or the main two is the goalkeeper and Rovella. I think that plays in our favor a lot.
Those are the 2 best players.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I was just looking at the team that Lazio played last night. Eduardo Motta in goal, as you said. Kind of been a young deputy. I think he was at Reggiana last season. They're back for, and this is why I'm not necessarily surprised that their defensive record is good at 1 goal per game conceded, because it's a Sarri team first and foremost, and their back 4 on paper isn't too bad. Nuno Tavares, Romagnoli, Mario Gila, and Marusic as a back 4 is okay. And then it all starts to unravel a little bit. Dele Bashiru, Cataldi, and Kenneth Taylor as a midfield 3, and then Isaacson and Zaccagni. I like Zaccagni. He's not having the best of seasons. Flanking Daniel Maldini playing as a striker. Now, we know who is going to score for Lazio in this game as a result of that. How has it kind of got to that position? I know Bdair came off the bench in this, and Cancellieri has perhaps not been 100%, and they lost Castellanos in the January window to West Ham. Noslin didn't come on either. But how have they got to position of playing that?
Do they still have their transfer ban, or did they get to participate in January?
I think they signed anyone in January.
Yeah,
double check.
I don't know,
but I don't know if they have a ban. I feel like they might have just. Well, they signed Daniel Maldini in January.
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah. So
I guess okay, so it must have must have been lifted because they signed Taylor from Ajax for 16 mil in January. Peter Ratkov from Salzburg for 13 mil. Adrian Puzborek from Poland for 4.5 mil. So they spent a bit of money in January, basically. So it must have just been for the summer.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, look, they have 3 wins since Christmas. That's not good enough. And I would argue that this Sassuolo win is the biggest win of the 3. and the other one, Genoa and Verona. So it's like you should win those games, especially for a club like Lazio, who might be the worst of the big six in Italy, but is still in the big six. So they need to be doing better. I don't think they're poised to even break into Europe at any point this season. I think it's done for them. I don't think they're playing for anything, not even pride at this point. If anything, knowing Sarri, he's going to play to destroy this team right now. He's going to cause a scene and say, look what you've done. This is a horrible squad. Do better. He might even get sacked at the end of the season, honestly. Who knows? But I think we win this. I think we ride the high of the derby. I think we push. We know Inter play. Is it Atalanta next?
On Saturday, yeah.
They play a team who can do something to them. Now, they play before us.
It's Atalanta.
You don't
always bend over for Inter.
Yeah, I mean, fair.
I know.
One of these days, I hope they can. Well, Como held him to 0-0 in the cup, but maybe it was just
no Gasperini
either. Game.
It used to be Gasperini's Atalanta that did it, I guess.
True.
True. I mean, you're probably right, though. They're probably going to bend them over. But I hope that they're reeling from the defeat and they can't get it together and we're still riding the high. And I do think we beat Lazio, and I think it might be a really fun game for us, actually. I wouldn't be shocked if it's a 3-0.
I think, I'll say Lazio are slightly better than their results. I think they're not the 10th best team in the league, I think. I think they're not the 10th best team in the league because they're better than Sassuolo and Bologna, let's say, right? Who are in 8th and 9th. But yes, they're without Rovella, their midfield just lacks so much talent.
Yeah.
And in attack, they sold Castellanos. I mean, they basically punted the season because they sold Castellanos and they replaced him with Ratkov, who if you're gonna do that kind of move, I get that he's young, but that has to be a player that you're at the very least willing to just like throw in there and be like, here's your 19 starts for the rest of the season, and let's see if you can figure it out. But they've not done that. He's clearly far behind the pace of the league, and so they're playing Daniel Maldini at striker, who has been relatively productive for them since he's joined. But we should be taking care of this. But again, it's going to be one of those games because, like I said, their defense is a good defense. Mario Gila, who's somebody we want, right, is one of the best players is one of the best center backs in the league. And I would say it's probably going to be a struggle. Kind of like the first game, kind of like the cup game. We're not great. We're not great at putting the sword to teams. That's the reality of this team. And if we're gonna and so I think we'll probably I still have us winning. We'll win maybe 2-1, I'd say.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly that. I struggle to see us putting any team, to the sword, as you said. I think it'll be 1-0, which would be the third 1-0 result between these two teams this season. They seem to be cagey affairs between Allegri and Sarri too. That there's a bit of a rivalry there that I think it'll be interesting to see play out again. But I would just be happy if we got in there, got the job done, and got out, because after that, our games aren't too bad. I say that we struggled against the teams that are a little bit less in the table. We got Torino at home, and then we got Napoli away, which is obviously a difficult one. But then Udinese at home and Verona away. So 3 out of 4 there look okay on paper. And
do Inter have to play Napoli or no?
No, they're done.
No, they played them twice.
They're done. They're done with Milan, Napoli, and Juve.
Because this is a new Napoli compared to earlier in the season. Now that De Bruyne is back and what's his name's also back. There's another Anguissa, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a lot harder now.
Game. That's a big test for us coming up. But, we beat the team that were 10 points above us, so we should have that belief now to go into it. In terms of the team, as I say, Rabiot suspended. I imagine that he's gonna play Ricci because that's sort of been the trend, but I wouldn't mind. Well,
I think he might go Jashari because when Rabiot got the red card, he played Jashari. I don't know if that was a one-time situation, but maybe. I thought maybe this is the day he throws Jashari back in there.
I think he went Jashari when Rabiot got the red card because he had to switch sort of to like a double pivot, and Jashari makes a lot more sense than that.
But I'm saying that. But I hope that's what he does again. Like,
Yeah, I'd like to
hope,
see it.
I hope he puts them
don't.
together, him and Modric, and actually controls possession against Lazio. It doesn't make it a yo-yo game, and just let's beat them.
Also allows Fofana to go on his very profitable runs forward as well. If you play that double. To end with a question that we answer very, very quickly. From Jan, it's perhaps an obvious one. What are our Scudetto chances, let's say in a percentage after the Derby win? Will the result affect Inter's form going into the final 10, or are they going to just keep steamrolling the teams that are outside the top 5?
I would say they're probably about 15% chance, because that means Inter have to drop points in 30% of their upcoming games. And I just don't see that. So I'm going with a little bit less than that. But I saw that smile, so Bdair's going to say 100.
No, I was dude, I thought 50% was a lot.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
I think probably 5%. But we find out, like, this is the weekend we'll find out.
Yeah, I agree.
If they drop points today, or sorry, this weekend or against Roma, I'm there. I'll like Ollie said, I'll say 50%. I'll be like, I'll be all the way there.
We will be there.
Right. But I need to see that one more like falter. Because again, it's going to be the delineation between, are they bad against very talented big teams, or are they bad against under pressure, right? Because those two things are completely different.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not, if they're just bad against big teams, then they'll wipe the floor with this run, like they have done the entire season.
When you're looking at this, the remaining fixtures, it's actually kind of crazy, the symmetry of it. Our hardest 2 games in this run, probably 2 of our 3 hardest, Lazio and Napoli, are when they play Atalanta Roma. So not that you want to say, if they drop points, we're fine too, but like there's a world where that lines up, and then when they play Como, we have Udinese, which should be a much easier game, but we do struggle against them. Then we're both playing a Turin side at the same time. Is interesting. And then, that's crazy. When we play Atalanta, they play Lazio. Weird again there. And then to cap it all off, they end the season with Bologna, which if it's a
away,
that's what I'm saying. If it's a 3-point gap or less on that last game, we win. Like that's it. They're not winning that. But don't count on it.
Looking at their schedule and looking at ours, I think if you look at that, like Atalanta, Fiorentina, Roma, Como, I would say Cagliari, Torino, TBD, Hellas, and probably Bologna on the last day. All those teams are playing for something towards the end, right? And maybe even Lazio if they could sneak into the European places at the end.
They'd have to beat us for that, though.
No, there's still a lot of games, and looking at their competition, it's not like they're 13 points. Actually, yeah, they're 9 points behind Atalanta. Atalanta have fixed a lot of issues and still have a lot left. I think they're a bit iffy as well.
Yeah.
But my point is, there's not a lot of in the league this season in general. There's not a lot of teams that I think will be at the end with nothing to play for. I think there's a lot of teams that are going to get dragged into the relegation race, especially since Lecce all of a sudden realized they could score goals. They didn't know that at the beginning, but now all of a sudden they've scored 7 in their last 5, having scored 13 and 23 before that. So the fact that Lecce are good, Lecce have pumped up, and they have Fiorentina below them who are trying to survive. Cremonese is going to be the question. If Cremonese can put together any sort of results, then that makes everybody liable. That makes everybody from 13 to 19 liable to go down, pretty much. If Cremonese can get some results and pull some of those higher teams back into it.
They won't.
No.
I think we should do the question that Madison asked us as well before we finish.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, by the way, that run, that last 3 that Inter have is quite interesting because got Lazio in round 36, which is where they lost the league title in 2002 on the final day of the season. They got beat 4-2, did Inter, and they fell apart basically and didn't end up winning the league. Verona is our thing, fatal Verona. We've twice been to Verona away and lost the league title there. And then Bologna, twice in recent years, have dealt a hammer blow to Inter Scudetto hopes. So there's quite a narrative there going into the final 3 games.
Oh, I can't wait, dude.
Was Maddie's question again?
Oh, I pulled up. He asked it on.
It's something about if you'd rather go on runs of derby wins and losses or just trade 1-1.
Yeah, he said there have been long stretches of winless runs for either Milan or Inter. Would you keep it that way, knowing that we have a winless stretch coming our way, or if you could guarantee 1 win, 1 loss every season, would you do that? I mean, I think I take the runs because the defeat I felt in the 6-game losing streak. After game 3, it was whatever. It was like I just anticipated it.
Yeah.
But not losing for 7 feels really fucking good. And I don't deal with enough Inter fans on a regular basis that I care. Like, it's not being constantly reminded to me about the losses. Like, we bring it up more than they do, to me at least. So, yeah, I'll take the winning streak with the losing streak over sharing 3 points each season.
Yeah, given that we're in a winning streak right now, I'll keep the streak. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
If this asked me this question 3 years ago, I'd be like, man, fuck that. Let's do 1-1. But right now, yeah, let's keep it. Man, I listen. We get 7 games unbeaten. I don't think we're ever going to lose a derby again. I could die at 80 having never seen a derby loss ever again. So there's always that chance. You never know.
I have a friend. I think you met him, Kyle. I'm not gonna know about that. Yeah, but he is a new Milan supporter in the last 2.5 seasons, so he doesn't know what we went through. And the morning of the derby, he sent me a bet slip of his, and it was Milan to win, and I think Pulisic to score, which obviously didn't happen, so he lost his bet. But I just laugh reacted, and I said, "That's a 0 for 0. Like, you're not hitting that." And he's like, Milan doesn't lose to Inter, man. Like, we got their number. I said, brother, you do not understand.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Oh, you sweet summer child.
Yeah. And I was like, damn, like there really are some people who just haven't seen it. And then I saw a tweet from John. His son has never seen Milan lose a derby. 7 in a row.
I saw
Good
that.
luck,
Like, that's incredible. Like,
Yeah.
there's really people out there who have just never seen
continue,
it.
Baby.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah. I think if you're going to trade 1-1 in a season, so you win 1, you lose 1, I guess it depends on the external context, right? So I wouldn't be happy if we won 1 and lost 1 this season, knowing that Inter are probably going to go on and, if they'd have beaten us there, they'd have gone on and stormed the league. But, if it's sort of neck and neck, you trade a win here and there, it's not so bad. But I just remember back to the mid-2010s when we used to just be 0-0, 1-1, banter era, just complete shit. It does feel funny that, some of the more bizarre runs of games have come when both teams have been back to, get back up there competing for trophies and stuff. But yeah, I'm quite enjoying this streak, so let's go with that. We'll wrap it up there. I've done nearly an hour and a half, but well worth it. Always good to recap a derby double. And we are back later in the week with another bonus podcast episode, topic to be decided. So any suggestions, get them in. Back early next week with a recap of the Lazio game, and we'll answer more questions on that one because it'll be into the international break there. But yeah, been your host, Ollie Fisher. Find me on Twitter at Ollie Fisher. AJ, cheers for joining.
See you guys next time.
Bdair.
See you.